Back in July 2008, I released this ranking case study on gestational diabetes. The topic itself is irrelevant. The point is that the study was there to look at how well themed the top pages in Google actually were, because there were a lot of people saying that Google didn't take any notice of theming and keyword combinations, and LSI wasn't really being used by the search engines. So this report basically was a study that I did on some web pages in the top of Google and a bit lower down in Google and at the bottom of Google. And these were the keywords here that I was looking at. These are the ones that were identified as potential LSI keywords. What I did was I looked at the top 10 web pages, and then pages from 100 to 109, and then pages from 340 to 351, and I looked for occurrences of those theme words that I'd identified as being relevant to this particular topic. And the result was that the top 10 on average used 34.9 or 35 of my chosen LSI words in their content. If you move down the rankings, the top the 100 to 110, they used 27, 28 of those theme words, and if you moved even further down the rankings, the number of theme words that they used in the content dropped off, which is a clear indication that those pages ranking at the top had a lot more relevant LSI theme words in the content. What's happened recently is I've had a few emails from people saying that Google's releasing this new caffeine update, and things have changed, and things change every day and every week in search engines. Is this theming still relevant, and is it still important in the content that ranks well today? So in the last year or so, I've been developing my own tools, and I've developed some software which can basically go and analyze groups of web pages against theme words, and it does it fairly automatedly. In the last week or so, I've run probably over 1,000 different analysis of web pages in Google against theme words, and I want to just show you the results of those analysis. Now, just so you know where the theme words come from and how the analysis has been done, basically, this is Web Content Studio. It's not available yet, but this is the software that I use to grab the theme words to use within the article. And for example, in this particular article, you can see there's a list of theme words. It's close to 150 there, which this software has identified as being relevant to this particular article on Nikon D300 digital camera. Okay, so the first report I did, I ran a report on a bunch of Google pages, some from the top 10, some much further down. In fact, I had 6 different groups of pages, which I'll show you in a minute. And what my software does is it goes away and it analyzes those against the theme words. And this first report is analyzed against those 149 theme words that I originally found for Nikon D300. And this is the page that's in number 1 in Google, and you can see that the software has awarded it a quality score of 100, and another 100 for third place, 4th place 61.8, not so well, 6th place 100, 9th place 100. What I did in the report, you'll see that some positions are missing. I deliberately didn't include any websites that were the manufacturer of the product, so I didn't include any Nikon websites. I also didn't include any YouTube videos, because both of these would have ranking advantages in Google, not based on the content on the page, but based on the fact that they are those particular sites. So let's just skip right to the end to the summary, because this is what's interesting. Okay, for the web pages that were ranking in the top 10, and these pages range between the first ranking page and the 9th ranking page, the software that I used gave it a quality score or an overall theming score of 92.4%. If we move down to position 51 to 61, that score dropped to 78.3. If we move down to 130-ish, down to 71, then down to 64, down to 54, and down to 58. Okay, these are reversed. You don't get exact trends for a number of reasons, because there are a lot more reasons for ranking well than just theming. There's inbound links and authority status and all the rest of it. So we don't get any, an exact match down here, but it's not to worry. You can see the overall trend is down. This was based on 149 theme words that Web Content Studio identified as being relevant to this particular niche. But what I did next is I then used the software to narrow that number of theme words down, and rather than using 149, I got the software to select the top 49 keywords. Okay, actually it wasn't 49, it was 45. So this is the top 45 words that the software identified as being relevant to the Nikon D300 digital camera. And you see these are the top pages again: position 1, 100%, position 3, 100%, position 4, 100%, position 6, 100%, position 9, 100%. And then we move on to the second batch, which we're ranking much lower down. I was ranking at 51. Let's go down to the summary at the bottom of the report and have a look what happens here. And you can see that the trend is exactly the same. We've narrowed the number of theme words down, so we've actually picked the best of the 149 theme words. We picked the best 45, or rather we've got the software to pick the best 45. The top 10 pages in Google all had basically a score of 100%, which means that they probably used nearly all of those 45 theme words. Moving down the rankings, we're down to 72, 71, 72, 67, 60, 61. So you can see the trend is still there. We've got the same trend as you move down the rankings. The quality of the theming of that web page drops off as well. Okay, this particular example, I found theme words for a specific product, polar heart rate monitor. And again, I didn't include any web pages in the analysis that were from the Polar's own websites, and they have quite a few. Let's just skip straight to the summary at the bottom. So the pages that ranked in the top 10 had a theme score according to my software of 84%. As you move down to 41 to 45 position in Google, that dropped off to 48, and then move further down, it drops off to 45. So again, in this example, we're seeing the same sort of trends. Let's have a quick look at the gestational diabetes niche. Let's scroll to the bottom and have a look at where the pages were ranking. And for this one, I picked the top 10, then 11 to 15, 21, 25, 30, 40, 50. So we're going down in stages. The pages in the top 5 of Google had an overall score of 84.7. Then from 11 to 15, 68.7, moving down and down. Here it stays around about the 60%. And to be honest, when you move towards the end of the results in Google, you're still seeing relatively good theming, because Google has got a lot better over the last year and a half at removing the content that it doesn't think is good, and basically it puts that into the supplemental results. And any pages that Google think actually adds information to their search results, then they will put them into the main results. So everything that is in the main results of the search engines we expect to be themed relatively well. What I then did is I then took a wider view of this. So let's look at those results. This time I looked at the top 1 to 5, then 50 to 55, then 90 to 96, then down into the 180s, then 270s, then 360s. And as you can see, we're seeing the exact same trend down to about the top 100. We're still getting around about 60% theming, and then after that we're seeing a drop off into the 40s and then into the 30s. So again, we're seeing exactly the same trend here. As you move down the search engine results, the quality of the theming of those content pages are being reduced. So does Google take account of theming and LSI? Well, I think quite clearly it does. The point I'm trying to get across is that for a page to be valuable in any particular niche, it's going to include a range of theme words, and those theme words will be there if the page is quality, because those theme words are necessary to talk about that topic. For example, in the topic of diabetes or gestational diabetes, if you're going to write a quality article on this topic, you're going to have to include words like pregnancy, diabetes, blood sugar, glucose intolerance. These are words and phrases that an expert in that field will use, and Google knows this. Google looks for these types of words to help decide which pages are quality and which pages are not. The big problem for a lot of webmasters is they're not actually experts in the niches they're writing content for, and that is where a tool like Web Content Studio will come in, because using the Spider and the Google Synonyms keyword tools, this software will actually tell you which phrases and words are important to use.